Hello everyone, in this video we are finally touching upon the topic of giant UFOs. First, a disclaimer: while the reports I wanted to present today have come from as reliable witnesses as it gets, we sadly do not have actual evidence in terms of photos or videos, not in the least because at least some of those are classified, as we will soon learn. First, let's start with a report coming from none other than Lieutenant Ryan Graves, one of the three witnesses testifying before the US Congress during the memorable UAP hearing of July 2023. During said hearing, as well as during his interview with Jeffrey Nuzzetelli, who was the actual witness to said event. The event took place back in 2003 at Vandenberg Air Force Base located in California in the United States. During said event, the crew stationed at the base at the control tower received a call from the range control staff. Two different reports were received of a giant red square floating above one of the sites at the base, as observed by the military contractors working there for Boeing. The object was described as almost flat plane with very little depth, square in shape and the size of a football field. So we are talking the object the size of about 100 yards or 90 meters in length or width. The object was observed floating over a launch pad at the site. The reports of the witnesses back then said that the object was glowing red, and people who were located close to it observed burn-like symptoms in the aftermath of the event. The UFO hovered there for a brief time before it left at speed, amazing for an object of this size. Speaking of UAP hearings, this year's congressional hearing saw the topic of USOs, or underwater objects, being mentioned, in particular by Admiral Tim Gallaudet and Luis Elizondo. The hearing included a report from a sea of an object the size of an oil rig, which means really colossal in size. We are talking several hundred yards or meters in diameter or a side length here. And it was not just the size that was astonishing, but also the speed of the object. It was moving underwater faster than any man-made craft would be able to, even with the state-of-the-art nuclear-based propulsion systems. Next, we move over to Mexico, a country which has quite the number of UFO sightings in general. Early this year, we had an interview with an airliner pilot who was flying over central Mexico at the turn of the year. He reported seeing an object which was partially clouded, if I recall correctly, which meant poor visibility and only partial opaqueness. And that was not the stranger part even. According to the report, the object was the size of a city, with its dimensions measured in kilometers. It also apparently moved at speed which could easily be expressed in thousands of kilometers per hour, with it traversing the Mexican landmass across the country in less than 2 minutes. The sighting was recorded near the city of Guadalajara, and the object was disc-shaped. On top of this, we have at least 2 major radar sightings of enormous UFO objects from Mexico as well. On the 1st of September 2020 and on 22nd June 2022, there were 2 major anomalies observed in the skies over the country by radar stations and were officially dubbed as weather phenomena. These sightings have been even possibly debunked as weather or radar anomalies as mentioned, but nonetheless contribute to the fame of Mexico as one of the countries which is a hotbed of anomalous activity, and a place relatively outspoken when it comes to UFOs compared to many other places around the globe. And still, many people believe that those gigantic observations were actual UFOs hovering over the country. The next case is often quoted as one of the most famous UFO sightings of all times. It involved the famous Japan Air 1628 flight en route to Alaska. According to the pilots who contacted the ground air traffic control, their flight was accompanied by a luminous object which maintained speeds similar to the airliner and maintained the same course as well. At some point, the object approached close enough as if wanting to study the airplane closer, and then Mr. Terauchi, a pilot with 29 years of experience, had the opportunity to estimate its size. It was apparently somewhere in the ballpark of 2 to 3 aircraft carriers in length. So again, we are talking about an object as big as more than half a mile, or almost a kilometer long in this case. With the object being spherical, you can imagine what kind of a surface area we are talking here as well. The next sighting involved the same aircraft carrier, USS Nimitz, which had an encounter with a giant UFO UAP in 1991. This story was told by the back then petty officer on board the ship, Mr. Kevin Thomas. He was responsible for processing photographs for the crew and remembered that one night, when the ship went dark as per the procedures to hide it away from sight, with effective full locked out. Here was locked out on the deck and saw a triangular object which was half risen from the water, silent and with water dripping off its surface. The object was approximately 200 yards away from the ship, and after rising to about 40 feet above the water surface, it practically vanished with tremendous speed. The object itself was about 200 to 300 yards longer than the Nimitz, which would place it at approximately 13 to 1400 yards or 1200-ish meters long. So this is it for now in part 1, as I realized that the list of the objects is long enough to warrant 2 separate videos to make the content easier to digest and quite frankly to prepare as well. Stay tuned, as we are going to explore several more giant UFO sightings across the decades very soon. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content, and I will see you in another video. Take care.